Girls of Reddit. How do you know when a guy's genuinely good and not just trying to get in your pants? Story 1. I once met a girl at an outlet mall. We got to talking for a while and eventually it got dark and late. I'm kind of a shy guy, so I hesitated a bit, but I asked if she needed a ride to her car. It was a dark and big parking lot, so even if I was interested in her, I also felt obligated to make sure she was safe. She actually said no because she wasn't that far, and I just followed up with her to see if it was okay for me to at least walk her to her car. She said yes. We got to her car and asked for her number, and she shyly smiled and was like, and I got the hint right away and said, I get it, it's cool. Thanks for hanging out, have a great night. Smiled and turned to walk away. I get a few steps and I hear her open her door, but then she goes, wait. I stop and turn and joke, nope, too late. She laughs and I walk over and we exchange numbers. We dated for 6 months, and sometime during that all, she told me how chill I was about being rejected. It made her instantly like me, and not in a pity way. She just realized I wasn't going to treat her like crap if she turned me down. Story 2. Hobbs and I waited a few weeks to have into our dating relationship, and he said, come over, sleep with me, but no funny business. I just want to sleep with you. So before we were intimate, we just slept together. Knew he was a keeper after that. Even though I felt the boners as I was sleeping, he would discreetly tuck them into his waistband and go back to cuddling me. Huge respect to him. Story 3. If he makes an effort to learn things about me, i.e. things not related to and respects my choices, interests, and passions, it's very rare. Story 4. When my BF and I first got together, we were still teenagers. I got really drunk at a party, and my friend bailed on me. I didn't have a ride or a place to sleep that night. He took me to his house, brought me glasses of water and snacks, and didn't even make a move on me all night, even when I slept in his bed in my underwear. We've been together for 4 years now. Story 5. Typically, this is when you're already dating them. If they want but you're not in the mood, take note of their reaction as well as their mood for the next 10 to 15 minutes. 2 of my exes would get annoyed or would sulk, and continue to try and find a way to get you to agree. They weren't good guys. Story 6. When he takes the time to really talk to or get to know your family, guys that just want to hang and bang don't care about your backstory and your actual life like that. Story 7. When they build a nest out of grass and decorate it with blue plastic, eggshells, stones, or whatever flashy thing they can find. Oh wait, that's bowerbirds. Damn, I wish the human mating ritual was as straightforward. Story 8. You can never know, and I'm not a girl, but my significant other says that she could tell with me because I was the same around her as I was with my friends and her friends. I was respectful to her family, and I had a good career. Even then, there was skepticism at the start, but I just kept hanging out with her, and then we just had one day. It was a good day. Story 9. I remember the first time I kissed my now husband, who was clearly very interested in a relationship with me for a few months beforehand. I asked him what it was he liked about me, and he gave me the most thoughtful, detailed answer with real examples of a time I did something he found sweet or beautiful. I couldn't help but kiss him after that. He's still the best person I know. Story 10. If he remembers little details about you, like your dog's name or your sister's job, i.e. he actually pays attention when you talk. If he remembers the answer you gave when he asked, what's up, by following up with, oh, how did insert thing you did here go? If he makes an effort to talk to you instead of just bugging you to hang out with him. If he doesn't constantly try to steer conversations towards flirting or comments. If he's perfectly fine with you not being able to hang out if stuff comes up. Those are some of the things I look for. But then again, I've been fooled before. Trust your gut too. It's unrealistic to expect a guy to remember every little thing about you, but if he recalls something small, it proves he was paying attention. There are other ways guys can show this, like by asking more specific questions and remembering general facts about your life. If a guy puts effort into knowing you, he's genuine. Story 11. When he does nice things, then doesn't make a big deal out of it, because he's doing it for the sake of being a good person, rather than hoping to get something extra out of it. Like if someone gives you a lift home and doesn't mention it ever again, except to accept or reject monetary payment, quote-unquote nice guys will give you a lift home and then not let you out of the car afterwards, saying, wow, that was a really nice thing I did for you. What are you going to do for me? Story 12. The night I knew I'd marry my husband was before we even started dating. I knew he'd been interested for a few months, but I wasn't available, and he respected that. Never pushed the boundaries I had set. One night, I was working a late shift and got ready to leave at about 10 p.m. I'd been dropped off earlier in the afternoon because my dumbass forgot to put gas in my car, so it was sitting on the side of the freeway about a half-hour drive away. I called my ride multiple times, nothing. I called my roommate, nothing. Called my friend who lived in the same town, nothing. Sent out texts. After half an hour, no replies. I knew my coworker, now husband, lived in a town between where we worked and where I lived. I decided to call up a guy I barely knew outside of work and hope he was as kind as he seemed to be. 15 minutes later, he was picking me up. Of course, I was embarrassed and beside myself that no one had answered my calls and texts. He drove me to the nearest 24-hour store, bought a gas jug, drove to a gas station, went in to pay for the gas, came out with a cup of coffee too. It was just turning cold out. Drove me back to my car, got me squared away, and followed me back to the same gas station so I could fill up in case something went wrong. Y'all, I had plenty of money. I'm just forgetful. I stated this multiple times throughout the night. He just kept saying, "You've had a long day. Let me help." We get to the gas station, he fills up my tank, and came back out with a pack of the brand of cigarettes I smoked at the time. Neither of us smoke anymore, but that was part of how we bonded starting out. Me: "You didn't have to do that." Him: "You said you were out." Me: "I can buy a pack in the morning. You keep them." Him: "You know I don't smoke this brand," and hands them to me. We're standing there, having a smoke, wrapping up the night, and I just start tearing up and tell him, "I'm glad you exist." That's been something we repeat to each other now and then to this day. He never brought it up after that, except years later to tell me how pissed off he was that no one came to get me, and to confess that no one had ever told him they were happy he existed, and that he was happy he hadn't decided to drink that night like he normally would have. I hope you two are still happy together. Hey guys, just a little side note, if you like our content and like listening to our stories, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get updates for our future uploads. And now back to the stories. Story 13. OP just got in my pants. He's too slick. His game is too good. Story 14. My boyfriend is awesome at non-sexual affectionate touch. I appreciate it so much. He was from the start. Forehead kisses, side hugs, hand-holding, with no need for a reciprocal. Story 15. I knew my husband was a keeper. He had been my friend first, but we lost contact because he had a crazy girlfriend. When we reconnected, she was officially his ex-girlfriend, but I had an emotionally abusive fiancé. He talked me out of it. He helped me get the courage to leave, and then he waited for me to heal. I gave him no time frame. I told him that I needed to be single before I made another commitment because he deserved to have all of me and be more than a rebound. Neither of us saw other people. We talked every day. I told him he didn't have to wait, but he insisted. When we saw each other again for the first time, he was an OTR truck driver. It clicked. We were meant to be. He switched to regional driver. I went back to college. Now we're building our lives. 7 years together. Story 16. Nice guys are nice to you. Nice guys are nice to people they don't want to get anything out of. I also have a theory that nice guys, in the "you should have with me, I'm a nice guy" sense, don't realize that being nice is the bare minimum. And thus you have to bring something else to the table. Be funny, be smart, be interesting. Hell, be attractive. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some appeal in aesthetics, but don't claim nice like that's an achievement. You're supposed to be nice. Bragging about it is a sign that you don't understand that, and it's a pretty good indication that it's not genuine. Story 17. I think for some of these guys, it's a matter of how they perceive themselves versus the stories they hear. It's easy to come across horror story after horror story of first dates with men. It's easy to find women complaining about shitty exes. It can make the bar seem artificially low. If these crappy people can get dates, then surely I could get a date and be awesome at it. The guy with no job managed to get a date, claim he forgot his wallet so that you paid for it, and even managed to convince her to give him a ride home. I'm nowhere near as bad as that. I'm a total catch. This girl's ex gaslit her, guilted her into and made her work super hard for him while he was a lazy and selfish slob. And they still dated for over a year? I'm a model boyfriend. Any woman would love to date me, if they could date that for so long. Then, if they go on a date, they show basic human decency and expect to be lauded for it, completely unaware that they've been comparing themselves to literally the worst. I think it has to do with that phenomenon where people think something is more common the more they hear about it. No one makes posts in Ask Reddit, or if they do, they don't make it to the top, asking about meh dates, for example. So these guys end up thinking most guys are that they're therefore wonderful by simply being not crappy, or not as crappy. I don't know if there are many guys who fall into this category, but it definitely seems plausible. I know it personally stung a ton for me when I first tried out Tinder. Put lots of effort into it, avoided all of the things I've heard women say they dislike in Tinder profiles, tried to follow the best tips, and got almost no matches, and no replies. I was inadvertently comparing myself to the profiles that women actively dislike, and simply being better than disliked is not really enough reason for a woman to swipe right. Until I made that connection, my self-esteem was pretty damn crushed. I thought my profile would be more desirable than it actually was. It seems pretty realistic for other guys to follow similar logic and view themselves as more desirable than they actually are. This is going to hit someone in the face so hard. Well said. Story 18. Respects your boundaries. It wasn't until my current boyfriend that I realized my feelings of feeling weirded out by all the guys before him was justified. They always pushed when I expressed hesitation or discomfort. I told my boyfriend I wasn't ready and he didn't make a move again for another 2 months until I was ready and initiated it myself. Story 19. I used to think that I was kind of obligated to have sex with my boyfriends when they wanted it, just because that was what you did in order to be a good girlfriend. A few of my exes expected sex, so I just complied, even if I wasn't feeling well or was tired or whatever. One day I was really sick and my current boyfriend was helping me out. I told him that I felt really bad, but I just didn't think I could have sex that night. He looked at me dead in the eye and said, "I don't need to have sex with you to love you." I learned a lesson that night about what a good man is. Story 20. It's generally easiest to tell through how they treat people differently, but seeing them learn about your relationship status is obviously a shortcut if it's available to you. It's always a bummer when you're having a great time with a group of people and a guy you were hitting it off with, platonically, in your view, learns you're in a relationship and immediately starts to ignore you. It always really makes me sad. Not that it happens a ton, I'm not a smoke show or anything. It's like, oh, I guess I'm just not as funny and interesting as I thought I was. That person didn't actually enjoy our conversation. It was just working on a potential lead. It really brings you low as a woman to see that guy continue to enthusiastically socialize with the other guys in attendance after he stopped talking to you upon discovering your unavailability. Story 21. How much effort he makes for contact that doesn't revolve meeting, i.e. texting about my day, sending some funny article, etc. Of course, this isn't an absolute rule. People are different and some don't like texting. Besides, I can only speak from my own experience. I'm saying that if the person wants to communicate outside hanging out, it's a sign he doesn't just want. I'm not saying that he just wants if he only texts to set up dates, etc. Story 22. The first time my boyfriend and I hung out, we drank a bit too much, and I ended up staying the night. He offered to stay on the couch, but I told him he could sleep in his bed with me. He never tried making a move, we just cuddled all night. He was truly a gentleman, and I couldn't have asked for a better man in my life. Story 23. You know a guy is genuinely good if he has a large anime collection that ranges from figures, manga, DVD sets, if he has a katana, wears a dashing fedora, has a well-kept and well-moisturized neckbeard by Mountain Dew, Doritos, and grease, weighs at least 300 pounds, lives in his mom's basement at 37. Honestly, these types of guys are so much more genuine than a typical Chad trying to get laid. Story 24. Easy. They treat you the same way when the passion starts to decline, and you're no longer tearing off each other's clothes. I know that makes my relationship sound bad, but long-term relationships go through these phases. When both parties are tired or stressed, etc., if your man stands by you, then he's a keeper. Short term, I suppose, just wait until you know them before you sleep with them. That's not something I have been good at, though. I suppose just don't get emotionally invested in something that has not been properly defined. Story 25. A better question would be about what is good for you, given what you want. If you want something simple and finding a guy who really just wants the same thing is a good fit. A guy who wants a long-term relationship may be a bad fit. Whatever it is that either of you want has nothing to do with whether you are genuinely good or not. I suppose you could look for some general character things, like genuinely good could be about having shared values. For example, transparency, consent, and integrity. As a man, I'd look for those things to get my good, genuine potential partner, and then see if we both want the same kind of interaction. Story 26. So my boyfriend and I were friends for a couple of years before we got together. I was dating another guy the entire time. I actually fell for my current boyfriend while dating the other guy. X was I didn't cheat on him, so I regret nothing. He was into me and very much wanted to date me, but since I had a boyfriend, he accepted that it wasn't a possibility and was content to be my friend. Although I complained about the ex to him all the time, he never once badmouthed him or disrespected our ex in my relationship. And when it got painful for him to be in love with a girl he couldn't have, he didn't take it out on me. He simply distanced himself a bit and let himself heal. He's a good man. When you treat a person with respect and offer genuine friendship instead of just a segue into dating, and you actually have the potential to end up with a life partner in a kick-ass relationship. Who knew? Story 27. It's really hard to initially tell. Usually I play it safe and don't really bring up anything for a while, and if they're the type to really want and nothing else, usually they'll start making every conversation about it and almost insisting something happens soon. The ones you stick with are the ones that respect your boundaries and stay friends with you for you, not just your body. Story 28. When my boyfriend and I officially started dating, we had sex that night and ended up sleeping over. Before a single piece of clothing left my body, he made eye contact with me and said, "If at any point you feel uncomfortable, tell me to stop." I tell you what, that was the biggest goddamn turn-on of my life. Been together about a year and a half and live together now. Story 29. Watch his behavior. A genuinely good guy will invest his time in you. Even if he's been busy, he'll reach out to see how your day was because he cares. Want to learn things about you. It won't be superficial facts. He wants to know about who you are, your hopes, family, the things most important to you, support you. He will want to know your hopes, dreams, and ambitions. For example, you need to study and there's a party he wants you to go to with him. If you tell him your studies are more important, he won't pressure you or guilt trip you for not going. Show you off. He'll want to go on dates, post pictures with you, tell his friends and family about you. He doesn't want to confine you only to his apartment or bedroom. Engages in meaningful conversation. He will try to connect on more than just a physical level. He will be intellectual and emotional. A lot can also be said from a guy's language. Listen for the way he speaks. Does he say you're beautiful or puts you down? You should do more squats or only talk about your looks. Watch his eyes. There's a difference between a loving look and a lustful look. Keep in mind that everyone has flaws and nobody's perfect. To expect anyone to complete a checklist on a daily basis is excessive. We are human, mistakes happen. But with a genuinely good man, it won't be an everyday occurrence. He will care and always strive to improve. These are just a few differences that I've noticed about the players and the man who treats me like a princess. Hope it helps you. Best of luck. You'll meet your Prince Charming. Story 30. I think there's an aspect to this that a lot of women don't seem to understand about guys. It's not as black and white as trying to get into your pants versus not trying to get into your pants. If a guy is single and heterosexual and you're at least moderately good looking to him, odds are he would be very happy if you suddenly wanted to have no strings attached to them. That doesn't mean him showing interest in you or wanting to talk to you is him actively trying to get into your pants, even if he finds you attractive. Does that make sense? I have loads of female friends that I find attractive, who I like spending time with and talking to as human beings like any other who I've never actively tried to hit. But if any of them suddenly felt like having sex with me, I'd totally be game. Story 31. With my current boyfriend, I knew it was when he invited me to meet his best friend. His best friend is old enough to be his dad, but they trust each other so much. They help each other with racing, and they're very close. Another sign was when he would tell me what people would say at work. His coworkers would joke about me or ask about me, so that meant they knew about me, and he talked about me. That's a huge sign. Story 32. Reputation. Is he known in that friend circle for being a player? Stage in life. Does he talk about settling down with someone? Does he associate that someone with you? Personality. How does he behave around his close friends? What do they talk about? Does he keep his promises? Previous relationships. Does he have previous long-term relationships? Did he have stages of one-night stands? Cheating history. Did he ever cheat before? How does he respond to your needs and wants? If you're allergic to some food, does he avoid bringing that food near you? If you're sick, is he by your side? If you want to see him more often, does he make an effort to compromise?
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this next video. The YouTube algorithm really thinks you like it.